Good evening. Welcome to New Horizons. If you have a mobile phone, we'd like to put it on silent, please. Thank you. Right, massive welcome back to Anne Stewart with Diana Divine Healing. Tonight's talk comes on the back of a very unusual encounter, and one that would have alarmed me. The lady who met with a suspicious early death, Princess Diana, made contact with Anne in the night with messages for mankind that transcend fear or violence. Information will tonight be channeled by Anne from Diana. I personally don't know much of channeling, so this should be quite interesting. We may receive insight into our rapidly changing and rather strange world. Please welcome Anne Stewart. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Rob. I'm Jack Stewart. I know more about this than she does. Apologies, are the simple reason. The reason being is that when Anne channels, I record it, and a book's coming out, and then using voice dictation software, type it up. She remembers anything between 5 and 10% of what comes through, whereas I know it all. And that's where the similarities end, because I think I'm as likely a channel, least likely a channel as anybody. Because when this thing happened, and I'll tell you more about it in a minute, I'll shut up. I'm an off-the-scale Republican. I have no time for the royal family, hereditary wealth, not interested. But when this thing started to evolve, it became very apparent all the lies and the various things that have been told about Diana, for example. Not least the fact that she was a rebel in the world's most powerful family, and that has to count for something. So, we're going to show you, we've got a PowerPoint presentation. Anne's going to do a formal channeling addressed to yourselves here tonight in about 15-20 minutes. And then later on, she's going to take questions. So if any of you, and we can't, there's no way it can be managed without 50 questions, it just can't be done. So where's Rob? Rob's going to come up with a mechanism whereby if you want to have one of your questions answered, he'll write it down somewhere, then we'll draw lots or do something. We'll end up with about 5 questions. Then you can, the 5 people who drew the long straw can ask a question directly of Diana through Anne. So they're the formal channeling bits. The rest of it is background things that reinforce the message, because I'm sure you're all wondering what the hell the message is. Well, it begins with what you can see on the screen. In the stillness, everything happens, which was again channeled. So let's continue. It's knowing which bits of kit to use here. There we go. Can you all see that? See that from the back? I haven't a clue where that came from, but it makes sense. And this is about our 4th or 5th time here. Some of us will recognise us because we do talks on healing and health. But I'm sure there's not a person in the room who would disagree with that. We live in exciting times. And for me personally, this is my favourite quote from the Diana channeling, because it applies to everybody in this room, whether you like it or not. And one of the many things that have come out through this process is the idea of taking the planet to another dimension. Well, how are we going to do that? We'll explain what we believe that to be later. Or you could ask Diana a question. And it's going to be done through love and compassion, not through violence. And again, I know what I'm talking about. I was a left-wing political activist a long time ago, and I thought the only way you could change this corrupt world was through violence. No. Violence begets violence. It achieves nothing. And while you're reading that, you may notice the background. We've recently moved to Malvern in Worcestershire. We used to live in the northwest, not a million miles from where Rob used to live, Gratnall. And Malvern's a very special place. There's a lot of connections. I don't know how many of you know, but it's where Tolkien was inspired to write Lord of the Rings. Also C.S. Lewis, The Chronicles of Narnia, and W.H. Auden, the poet. It's also inspired Elgar to write many of his compositions. And of course, Elgar was Diana's favourite composer. During the presentation, when stuff's in white, yes, they can. When stuff's in white, that's when Diana was quoted when she was here on the Earthplane, and that's something she said a few years before her, should we call it a death? Could I just ask, it might be interesting for a number of people here, how many of you have actually witnessed any kind of public channeling? Could you just put your hands up? Oh, great. Yeah, that's about a quarter of you, that's interesting. Have any of you seen Michael Recchia? Michael Recchia, he channels, he lives in Burnley, he's done his Sanctuary of Healing. Very interesting, it's totally different to what you're going to see tonight. Michael channels an ascended master called Joseph, who was from Atlantis. And Joseph actually takes his whole body over. So at the end of a couple of hours, Michael almost has had to be carried out, because it isn't just a question of words coming through. In the case of Joseph, he takes him over completely, but you won't see that tonight. These are just some images of Diana when she was alive.
Who can say where the road goes, where the day flows, only time. And who can say if your love grows as your heart shows, only time. We gotta
I must say, despite what I said before about republicanism, when I saw she got involved with a landmine thing, I thought at first it was a publicity stunt. But again, when you find more out about it, it clearly wasn't. And again, some of you may recall, she was one of the first celebrity, in quotes, to actually hug someone who was suffering from AIDS. And you saw the quote from the Queen, who didn't approve of it at all. And the reason I'm showing you that picture, that was taken around Malta in about 1985. And I never mentioned this because to me Diana was a waste of time, but I only mentioned this to Anne when we were in Greece last week, that how much she did look like Diana at the time. Very interesting with hindsight, like everything else. Probably sums up the Diana message. The opening prayer.
We give thanks this evening to the Spirit World for bringing us all here together to share our thoughts and our loves with each other. We ask the Spirit World to come to us and bring with us their angelic beings, their love and their integrity. And we ask you here, for anyone who may need healing, to send out your love vibrations of healing to them.
As you read that, just to reinforce, there are two sides to the Diana work. One is about awakening, and the other is about love and compassion. And I hope the words of that, again, to me, capture the very essence of what we're trying to do here. Another question that would be interesting, have any of you heard of the Essenes? Just raise your hands if you have. Excellent. Again, a similar number, about a quarter of you. Well, Anne's going to tell you more about that later. What the Essenes did, they classed humanity into three categories. The people who were asleep, the people who were drowsy, and those who were awakened. And essentially, the people who were asleep were just acknowledged, but they weren't the people who were going to change the world. It's the drowsy people and the awakened people who are going to change the world. So that's the essence of what Diana's working with, the drowsy people and the awakened people. And I'm pretty sure we've got a room full of awakened people. So it's not going to be that difficult. This was on David Icke's website this morning, some of you may have seen it. One thing I can't remember, the bloke in the middle at the bottom, I've seen his face before, but I can't remember who he is. Can anybody recognise him? I think it is Erin Eve, yeah, you're dead right. How interesting. I always suspected John Smith didn't die of a heart attack a long time ago. Anyway, interesting. So, for the next 5, 10, 15 minutes, however long it takes, Anne's going to get into a trance and going to channel Diana directly. I'm going to just record it with a little camera as well, as apart from the quality stuff that Alex is doing. But if you just, it's not time for questions, that's later. She's just going to channel the message and we'll see what comes up.
Well, good evening, and I thank you all for being here. It is so good to be here with like-minded people. It is our duty now to take the planet forward. So much is coming up, so much is being cleaned, and it is the first time in thousands of years that we have been able to do this. So much has been hidden from you. But now the times are changing, and with the communication that you will have between you, we can start to put this planet into a much, much better dimension. How you and I and everyone have been fooled. How all the false flags in the past we have all been taken in by, but no more. No more. And on the other side, in the spirit world, we are working with you. And we are doing all we can, but we do need the help of you humans to come through and to turn this land and this planet into a place of beauty. For there is no shortage of anything on this earth. God has given you everything. There is no shortage of wealth, no shortage of fuel, no shortage of food, no shortage of anything. And you have to take it back. And of course, you are awakening quicker than you probably think, although not as quick as you would like. But we have to remember that we have to take it as God wants it to be, and in God's time. It has to be planned, and it is planned. And as you come here tonight, and as you talk about it with your friends, the vibration of this planet is changing. And I ask you, when times feel really down and low, keep within your groups. Keep within the groups, even smaller groups, to keep your vibration high, because as the vibration changes, so will everything. Think about sharing your love with others, because it is only through this, through the love from your heart, that we will change, and you will change. For many years, we have lost that feeling for each other. We have been taught to go and get what we want, to stand on people, to tread on them, and to look at the lesser people, and to view them as lesser people. And I always say, be kind to everyone, no matter what their background, no matter what they're doing or where they have come from, because they all have hearts. They are all part of this one consciousness, and what you do to another, you do to yourself. So we ask you here from the world in spirit to show kindness, to be compassionate, and to work from your heart instead of working from the mind. You have been programmed over the hundreds of years to go from your heart and to work from the mind, to compete with each other, to even hate each other. has to stop. And by opening your heart, and by giving love out to every living thing, that's when this planet will take an enormous leap. And I know and I thank that a lot of you here are already doing that. And I ask if you just talk to one other person to help them to understand, then your job is done. And we are pleased here because if you could see in our world what we see, how the changes are taking places, when sometimes it looks so dark to you, believe me, it is not. It is not. Your world is one of beauty. One of love. And I will ask you to send your love out to each other. To stop judging each other. And to know that a kind thought, a smile, can lift someone's heart up so high. And not only is it doing that, it is also sending the vibrations. And the more people that do this and get into a heart centre, the sooner this world will change. Make no doubt about it, the dark side are fighting back. But I tell you, over the next few months, there will be things coming out that will quite surprise you and upset you. Even some of the sort of tougher people. But remember, as it comes out, as it's cleansed, as all the filth and dirt comes to the surface, then that's a huge step for mankind. And so we thank you for all that you're doing. Do not think that one small act of kindness doesn't go unnoticed, because it is noticed very, very much. Love one another as you've never done before. Feel for each other in the depths of your soul. And know that you have everything you need deep within your heart. Do not be fearful. Not let them frighten you. Because the light always wins. And as you send your love and you send your light out into the universe, the dark sides will crumble. It has started and it is well on its way. And they are fighting back and holding on. Hold your hearts up and know that this world is changing. And the greed and the banks and the politicians will all get their just desserts. So every day as the dirt gets brought to the surface, please don't despair. Rejoice. Because it has never been a better time to come together and to change. And you have been chosen, and you chose to be here now. Okay. Thank you.
Having witnessed quite a few of these channelings, that was, well, slightly more forceful than normal. How much do you remember of that?
Hardly any of it, actually.
Yeah, I've never known you to take so long to come out of it.
No,
Normally you actually comes out of it in about 20 seconds.
no, that, it's, yeah. Yeah,
Right.
quite forceful indeed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I said to one or two people before that the trademark of the upper classes is to say everything by saying nothing. And I think there was a slight deviation from the script there.
Mm.
Yeah. Right. You know what the next bit is?
Yes. Okay. Have we got any music for this?
No. Do you want me to introduce this, or are you going to
Yeah, I'm going to do
you
it.
want me to do?
Yeah.
What we're going to do now, the message was pretty clear about connecting to our hearts and sending out unconditional love. So what Anne's going to do now is she's going to re-access, Dinah's going to come through again, and she's going to ask all of you, if you are prepared to do this, to drop into your hearts and feel and connect into unconditional love, and see the difference it makes to the energies in this room. So this will probably take about 5 minutes, okay?
Okay, okay. If you just make yourself comfortable. And I ask you now just to sit in the silence. And I want you to put your attention on your heart. Come out of your head and put your attention on your heart. And I want you to feel, if you can, the energy of the heart. And I want you to feel, again if you can, the feeling of unconditional love coming through. And for those that can and for those that want to, just imagine feeling the essence of the Diana love, pure unconditional love from the world of spirit. And again, if you've got anyone that you would like to send loving energy to, anyone that's you feel needs loving energy, then please, at this moment, send that energy out. And then when you're ready, just return back to the room.
Anybody, any comments on that? Did anybody feel anything? I'd say one or two heads nodding, but it's not a consensus. Well, just to comment on this, one of the things we do, and you can see at the break, you've got to have a look, is a thing called the healing code. And we've done a presentation on that before here. And one of the co-authors of the book is two Americans, Alex Lloyd and Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson was diagnosed in 2004 with Lou Gehrig's disease. I think the English equivalent is motor neuron disease. But that's a particularly severe form. In fact, it's classed as incurable. It's one of the most devastating diseases of all. People don't survive Lou Gehrig's disease. That's it. I don't think there are anybody who's lasted longer than 10 years. Apart, of course, from Ben Johnson. Because he's still alive, still fit as a butcher's dog. And he coined the phrase, some of you may recall from the earlier slides, the energy frequency of pure love heals anything. And that's the whole essence of all the work that we do, whether we call it Diana, the healing code, a success goal or anything else. So if you go away with just one thing tonight, please, please consider how powerful love is as a healer. You'll be staggered at what it can do for people. And I suppose that just sums it up.
Mm. I mean, love isn't... Unconditioned love is very different. It's a love for no reason. No strings attached, just because you love that person or that animal. And when you get into the heart, it can have a profound effect on your health, on your well-being, on the way you interact with other people. Because we work from here, and this is where that causes us all our problems. The mind will trick you, lie to you, where the heart will tell you the truth. So getting used to just focusing on the heart and coming out the head, even if it's only for a couple of seconds. If you're in a stressed state and the mind is rattling away, if you just for a split second focus on your heart, that will have an enormous effect on your health and on your well-being, and it will take you out of the mind of lies and take you down the story that the mind weaves for you. Because the mind can be a healer or it can be a slayer. And today, with all the negativity, it tends to be the latter. And fear is within us, because we've been programmed with fear, and we want to change that. And if by going in, I know by going into your heart, that can change the fear that you have, because the mind is programmed to get you into that terrible, fearful state. When you sit down and analyse it, there's nothing to be afraid of, but when the mind is running at 3,000 miles an hour, you know, people we see and the people we deal with are very, very anxious and depressed people. All from the mind, so we get them to focus on the heart. So just try it when you've got a second. You'll find we do it regularly. I know there's 2 or 3 people in this room that do it quite often because we work with them, and it does change your whole outlook. Okay.
Interesting one about the crocodile there, 17 foot long. I've forgotten the name of the person who's swimming with it. I don't know if any of you are familiar with this story. But the crocodile was shot by a hunter and it lost one of its eyes, so the person there took pity on it. And although it took him 10 years, all he did was show love and affection and kindness to the animal. And it's not something I'd want to do, wrestle or pet a 17-foot crocodile. And you can see at the top right there's a person being embraced by a tiger. And I think you can make out the other clips. I mean, it's we could spend the rest of the night just showing you stuff like this. Now these are just direct quotes that were channeled, and Anne's just brought your attention to the top one. And none of these are easy, by the way. Freudian slip. None of these are difficult. The first, that we can tame the mind. Changing our thoughts. Well, is it that difficult? Have any of you tried it? Have any of you ever thought sometimes that the thoughts in your head are not your thoughts? And there's a thought.
They're not always, because we're tapping into the conscious ocean of thoughts, and most of them at the moment are negative. So we can, because we are a one consciousness, we can bring in other thoughts that aren't ours. So that's something to really think about, and to challenge the mind and ask the mind, is this my thought? Because the mind gives us thousands of thoughts a day, and we're not used to challenge it. It's not used to being challenged.
Yeah, I mean, the best person to Eckhart Tolle's done so much work on this. And it's interesting, again, on the workshops that we run, we can heal through our breath, through our eyes, and through our love for each other. These are all facts. And I don't know how many of you actually ask your body when you've been contemplating taking something, any kind of food or vitamins or anything at all that is new for you. Have any of you gone inside and actually said, is this good for me? And got an answer? Well, if you haven't done it, try it.
Try it.
You'll be amazed at the answers you get. Because if the body isn't intelligent, then nothing is. The body's got a divine intelligence within it, we just don't use it. Now, I was talking to John before, I think Michael Tellinger was due last week, wasn't he? But he couldn't make it. I would recommend Michael Tellinger to all of you. We saw him in Manchester. He was a phenomenal human being. He's taken on the banks in South Africa. He's got a knowledge. The only person I can compare him to in terms of his knowledge of human history is David Boyle. And I know he's due here in the next few weeks. But what I've realised from reading Tellinger's books is that humanity is millions of years old, and we began life as heart-centred beings, not as mind-centred, head-centred beings. And of course, all the things that happen in the world, whether it's psychotropic drugs, food additives, adverts on the TV, you name it, all puts us in here, and keeps us in here. So we need to pay attention to this. And one of the comments we always get, and it's again in the book, about this stuff's too simple. Far too simple. Well, if you believe in Jesus and read any of this stuff, that was pretty simple as well. And I think it was Leonardo da Vinci who said simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. We don't need things that are complicated. I mean, I'm old enough to sound like a right boring old fart now, but technology, it just leaves me at the door. I mean, years ago, you put any piece of technology in front of me, I'd understand it within 10, 20 minutes. Nowadays, I haven't a clue. So the technological stuff is just running ahead of our ability to cope with it all. I'm sure Alex and John wouldn't agree with that, but I think you know what I'm saying. And we are being manipulated, for God's sake. Everybody knows that. There's not a person in this room who would disagree with that. And why not ask Archangel Michael for protection? Give it a go. Now here's an interesting comment. Some of you who surf the net quite often maybe seen 50 signs of awakening, 12 signs of awakening. How does somebody know when they're awakened? So I asked Diana this question on the 4th of October, and that's the answer I got. The signs of awakening are the truth coming out. And isn't that interesting? And just further reinforcement about your choice of being here now.
Can you all see that at the back?
The colour on the screen.
Yeah.
I'll read it out.
Read it.
I'll read it out.
Okay.
Oh, do you want to read it out?
I'll read it. I know you wondered at the time when I said that I was very much like David Icke. There was a little bit of surprise from both of you. But as I know you have seen things and heard things from him, and you are now realising we are saying the same thing. We are saying the same thing because it is coming from the heart. That was in June 2012. I started the channeling, I think it was sometime 2011.
In the book, I've often asked about specific individuals, but the only person in 200 pages of the book that she refers to, having come back on a question I'd asked, is David Icke. No one else.
And we did, when that was first channeled, we thought, well, but as we've channeled more and as time's gone on, and the things that Diana said and Ike said, they've just become together.
You just say it slightly differently.
I mean, quite a shock for me, because I also wasn't a follower. I didn't watch the wedding. I knew nothing, absolutely nothing about the woman. So when I got this visitation from her, it was quite a shock in more ways than one. Because, when you're not into the royal family and this happens to you, that's one burden. And when you give your word that you'll help, her to work through the heart and to help humanity. That is another burden. And I thought, what the hell am I going to do? And it actually became, it took me on quite a downward slope. And then one day, I said to her, I don't know what to do anymore, I don't know where to start. And she just said, I'll be with you at all your workshops. So a light bulb went on, we have to do workshops. But then she started appearing on the Diana workshop, on the healing code workshops. People would see her morph over me or stood by me. And that helped me quite a lot, because the people that saw her were like Mark Foster. Some of you will know Mark Foster. He's a very genuine person. So that helped me a lot, that people were actually seeing her and giving me proof. Then I started to write in the middle of the night, middle of January, and 3 or 4 in the morning, and I couldn't sleep, and I tried to ignore it and go to sleep, but it was there, and it went on, and I felt quite ill. And it did make me ill, actually. And then bit by bit I realised, well, this is what I've got to do. I've given my word, and I'll do it. Ooh. Is it me? Here we are. And so we started to do the channelings, and then we did our first workshop at Prescott in St Helens, a Diana workshop. And that was very... It was gone. and that was really interesting. Were you on that first one, Michelle? Yeah, Michelle was on it. And various things happened. 10 people. Okay. So while I had worked with Spirit for 30 years, mainly healing and clairvoyance, I'd never channeled. So, how you do channeling, I don't really know. I only know I do it as I do it. Not been trained in channeling, been trained in healing, been trained in mediumship and stuff, but never actually done channeling like I'm doing now. But I was saying, about 4 years ago, I was on a mediumship course with Mavis Patilla and Tony Stockwell. And Tony Stockwell had just written a new book. And there was about 100 and odd on the course, and at the lunchtime I sat on my own reading I bought his new book, and the lady tapped me on the shoulder and she said, hadn't seen her before, and I've not seen her since, and she said, I've got to give you this, it's been channelled, I've channelled it and I have to give it to you. And it was lovely. It started, I come to you with love, that's all there is, that's all we are, and it went on for quite a bit. And I put it in my handbag where it stayed for about 18 months. And then, as Diana started to come through, she would come through saying, I come to you with love, that's all there is. And it took quite a while for the penny to drop, that day when that lady gave me that piece of paper, that was Diana's first communication with me. But it took a while for me to realise that. And we've now got it on printed cards. That will be our closing prayer. We've now made it to the Diana prayer, and people have had healings and various things from that. There's a lot of things that we can't explain that have happened over the 2 years. All I can say is I have a mission to get this stuff out, to help people, and to make people think that please don't be afraid, because every one of you, every human being, is helped by Spirit, and you did all choose to be here, and I don't mean in this room, although you did choose that, but you did all choose to be here at this time, because what Diana told me, the people that would come to our workshops and our talks, we would have been together and worked and lived together in past lives, and most of us would have been Essenes, and the Essenes, which I'll talk about later, agreed to come back at this time to help mankind. And the Essenes were a community, a huge community of heart-centered beings, human beings, who were healers, who were slaughtered as time went on. Jesus Christ was in the scene, so was John the Baptist. And Diana tells me that she was in the scene and I was. And I had a phone call, I think it was about March of this year, from a lady called Joanna Prentice. Now, Joanna Prentice has written a book called Children of the Light, and it's all about scenes. And she's also worked with Dolores Cannon. Have you heard of Dolores Cannon? Anyone? She's done work with the scenes. And what Joanna had done is regressed people, 5 people back to when they were scenes, and all the stories ran. And she ran and made sense. And she rang me and she said, I've seen your stuff on the site about these scenes. And she said, Jesus' grandmother was in the scene, and her name was Anne or Anna. And I have to get back to her, and I haven't done it yet because we've moved house, but I would like to go to her and see if she would be happy to regress me back to see if we can get any more information on that. So people are coming to me with information that is making quite a lot of sense on that. Well, all sorts of things have happened, and it's trying to get it together and make sense, but every week or every day there's another little glimmer of something. So we're just seeing where this journey takes us. It's taken us to Melbourne. That was through the Diana source. Our aim is to have a healing sanctuary to help people who have got emotional problems, or young people coming from the wars, that while they can be patched up physically, the mental side never goes away, and there's not much out there. So our aim is to, however, if the book sells well, our aim is to buy somewhere to make a Diana Healing Sanctuary so that we can help people less fortunate than ourselves. That's what we want to do. We've no money to do it yet, so we're open to offers, and we're looking at maybe setting up a charity so that it can last when we've gone. So if anybody knows about setting up charities, please let us know. So we'll talk more after the break. Any questions? I'm around during the break, so look forward to seeing you shortly. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that. In 2 seconds we're going to show you a 10-minute video of David Icke. Now this is, you'll probably notice when you see this if you've not seen it before. Oh, and by the way, this is available on YouTube. All the videos that we show, you can access them. This is in his perhaps less confrontational mode. And this to me is one of the best videos he's ever done.
So everything that exists is everything that exists. I am everything that exists. So are you. The more you realize that, the more you open up to the full infinity of who you are. Your life transformed. Your vision of yourself is transformed. Your vision of everything is transformed. The more you see yourself as just an individual, ordinary little man and woman in the street, I got no power, mate, what can I do? Once you do that, you are shutting yourself off from the infinity of who you are, and you become a fraction of what you are. And then you are able to be controlled, but only then. Which is why this understanding has been so suppressed. That's where most people live their lives. In a sense of, I can't, mate, I could never, mate, all the best things in life happen to someone else, mate, or what can I do? And when we're there, piece of cake, manipulator in one hand while having a cup of tea in another. When we're here, we're a manipulator's nightmare, breaking the eggshell, breaking the sense of limitation, breaking the sense of fear, the fear of what other people think of us. How many people watching this video now would love to say something, but they think, oh, God, what will my mother say? Oh, what will they think of me? Oh, you'd love to do something in your life. And you say, oh, well, what will they think? I couldn't give a damn what they think. They have a right to think what they like, but so do you and so do I. We forgot that. And once we start believing that because people are different to us, they must be wrong, then we're in a situation where whoever sets the norms in society runs the world. Because we police each other, like I said right at the start of this journey we've both been on, and all been on in the last few hours. Cracking the eggshell, stepping out of the fear of what other people think of us, being who we are, speaking our truth, living our uniqueness. That is the revolution. It's not guns and bombs and meeting violence with violence and meeting anger with anger. What's the point? You get twice the anger, twice the violence. My goodness me, we've moved on, haven't we? The way out of this is the ultimate revolution. It's to be who we are and not what someone else tells us we should be. It's interesting. If you stood in front of a mirror, or not even in front of a mirror, anywhere, and you got a baseball bat, and you started smacking yourself around the head with it, people would call the guys in white coats, wouldn't they? Crikey, get him away. And yet that's what we're doing all the time. When we express that violence to another human being, or to an animal, or to anything, we're actually expressing it to ourselves, because that is us. We are all each other, because we are all this infinite mind. And because we've lost sight of the fact that we are everything, and what we are inside is what we externally create, we go round, because of the manipulation, we're like walking, talking movie projectors. Let me put it this way. Our inner self, our state of being, our attitudes, are resonating us to a certain vibrational frequency. You change your attitudes, the frequency changes. Hate has a certain frequency. And when we feel hate, we resonate the energy around us, that is us, to the hate frequency. We feel love, we resonate it to a different frequency. This energy that we put out with this vibrational code within it, created by our thoughts and attitudes, then draws towards it a reflection of itself. Other energy fields, people, places, ways of life, experiences that sync with what we're putting out. Therefore, what we are in here, we externally create. And I came across this symbol here. There's some esoteric symbols and that involved in there, but ignore all them. I'm just looking at the basic concept, which is of a reflection. There was a guy, a writer called Longfellow. I think it was Longfellow who wrote this. Anyway, some tall chap. And he wrote a story about how someone drowned thrashing in the water, fighting with their own reflection. And again, if you saw someone next to the river doing that, you'd call the white coats. They'd be on call all day, wouldn't they? But that's what we do, all of us, all the time. We seek to change what we've created by thrashing at the reflection instead of looking at what's creating it. So when things are happening in our lives we don't like, and we're drawing people into our lives we don't like, and we're drawing experiences we don't like, instead of saying, why am I drawing these in? What is it about me that's creating this? What is it I'm putting out that's drawing this reflection in that I don't like? This pain in the arse is giving me a hard time. Instead of taking that power back and responsibility for what we create in our lives, we look out there for it. Boom, boom, boom. And we're encouraged to. And so we're in a situation where we're looking at the reflection, trying to change what's going on, when we need to change what is being reflected. You know, if you're standing next to a river and you see a reflection of yourself and you don't like it very much, you can throw stones at it, you can cuss it, you can kick it, you can jump in and thrash around. All that external thing, which we do in our lives all the time. You're responsible, it's your fault, I'm in this position, out there, out there, out there, externalizing responsibility. But once all that thrashing around is finished in the river, and once you've thrown all those stones in, everything settles down again, and exactly the same reflection is being reflected as was before, because the reflection is merely, literally, a mirror of what is being reflected. We change inside, we change out here. This is the thing that we've been pressured, encouraged not to understand. Evolution's very, very simple. Very simple. Goes in this sequence. Experience, learn from the experience, evolve as a result of the experience. If at stage 1, we're putting out energy, reflecting our state of being, and we draw in a certain experience as a result, person, place, whatever. If at the point where we don't like the experience, we are blaming everyone else out here. It's your fault, it was Ethel in 1963, it was me mother, it's me colour, it's me sexuality. What is pulling that experience in is not changing, because we're blaming everyone else for it. So what happens is, because what's going out hasn't changed, what comes back doesn't change, and we hit these cycles in our lives, and we've all had them, and all still have them, where the same things keep getting repeated. We pull in the same type of person we have a relationship with. We pull in the same situation in work. Nothing ever works in our lives. And yet, when you look at that, what that is evolutionary, just running on the spot. We're not moving because we're not changing what's creating what we don't like. So it goes on and on and on. Once we take responsibility back and stop looking out here to change what's going on and look at what's reflected out there, then in the same situation we say, hold on a minute, why have I pulled this experience in? What is there to learn? What is it about me that's done this? Okay, got it. At that point, your attitude, your imagination of yourself changes. When that changes, what you resonate out changes, so you start pulling in different experiences that reflect the new vibration you're putting out and not the old one. And when you kind of get into this mode of taking responsibility back, suddenly things dramatically change. And you can evolve ever so quickly. You pull in an experience. Oh, right, what is there to learn from this? Okay, got it. Change vibration, evolve. Pull in a different experience. What is there to learn from it? Got it. Change vibration, evolve. And you can move along so quickly in evolutionary terms once you start to open up to that. As more and more people on this planet are, as this cycle of change unfolds. Or you can stand here forevermore blaming every bugger else for things that you're creating and we're all creating. And that's an option too, but not a very good one. So what we put out is what we get back. We are in control of our lives. No one else. Who just kidded that we're not. For instance, I hear people, you must have heard this, where people go, nothing ever happens in my life. It's so boring. It's so boring, my life. Nothing ever happens. Everything I try, nothing kind of works, you know. And then you say to them, well, what do you want to do with your life? And they go, I don't know, really. Don't know, never thought about it. Now, I don't know, really, is actually a state of mind. Therefore, it is a vibrational frequency, and I don't know really goes out, and I don't know really comes in. Nothing ever works, because I don't know really. If we can just focus on what we want to achieve and go with the intent, the most powerful thing we can do, what's our intent, what's our focus? This is what I want to do with my life. That intent goes out as a vibrational frequency, and it will always bring towards us experiences and challenges that lead us to achieve what we want to achieve. That's where most people give up. They say, oh yeah, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do the other, that's my intent, and the intent then draws towards us what we need to do to achieve that intent, and when it gets a bit challenging, we go, oh, God, well, I'd like to do it, mate, but not that badly, thank you very much. And we're out of the game. So if we want to be free, and we want the world to be free, that's what our intent needs to be. And then the challenges and what we need to achieve that intent will come towards us, and then we can meet them and all this is over. Because if we keep jogging on the spot, blaming everyone else, this is going on, and it's going to go on into another cycle for a very long time.
I'm sure most of you... is anybody familiar with Messages from Water by Masaru Emoto? About half of you. A Japanese scientist who discovered if you freeze certain molecules of water down to -2 and expose them to stimulus like thoughts or writing on a test tube or music, then the water molecules form certain patterns, and you can see two there. Thank You, that's the pattern that creates on the left, and Heartbreak Hotel, the one on the right, and there are other wonderful things in the book if those of you know about it. The top and bottom of it is we are 80% water, and so words and vibrations and frequencies changes at a cellular level. And here's something to think about. When you were conceived, you were nearly 100% water. So whatever the energies were around when you were conceived will have ripple all through your life. And take it from somebody who knows. Because I was the product of a knee tremble out in the bike sheds on Burton Wood Air Base. So it's taken about 60 years to lay that ghost to rest. Right, we mentioned earlier about the heart. This is from the Institute of Heart Math in America, who've done more research than anybody. Interesting statistics. And again, some of you will know this, that energy field, that double torus, is identical to the energy field of the Earth. Absolutely identical. 1,000 times stronger electrically, the heart energy field, and 5,000 times stronger magnetically than the brain. This is how we began our evolution. So if you want to succeed, if you want to change the world, get into the heart. The longest and shortest journey you'll ever make from the head to the heart.
Love heals through the restoration of what in biology we call homeostasis. In our body, there are all these thermostats, just like you have a thermostat that regulates temperature, you have many self-regulatory, for lack of a better word, thermostats. So there's a thermostat that's adjusting your blood sugar. It has to remain within a certain range. If it goes up, then you'll get diabetes. If it goes down, you'll get hypoglycemia. Your blood pressure has to remain between 120 and 80. If it goes up, you have hypertension. If it goes down, you have hypotension. Your hormone levels have to be regulated. There are actually thousands upon thousands of little thermostats that feed back on themselves and regulate themselves. Now it turns out that the most powerful thing for the regulation of these feedback loops is the experience of love. When a baby is born, the baby's biological clocks, these little self-regulatory thermostats, they're very immature. So if you expose a baby to say cold, it'll get cold very soon. If you expose it to heat, it'll get heat sickness. So what causes the maturation of these feedback loops? It's the mother's love. It's the bonding that occurs through baby talk and cuddling and cooing and touching and body language and facial expressions and gestures and so on. As adults, we also want that. We want to be touched, we want to be appreciated, we want to have affection. Affection is loving touch. Appreciation is to hear that somebody really cares. Okay, affection, appreciation, attention. Somebody is listening to me. When I have that experience, my body starts to regulate itself. And that regulation happens through a part of the brain that's called the limbic brain. And in fact, scientists even have a term for it. It's called limbic resonance. When my limbic brain is resonating with your limbic brain, as in when we care for each other and love each other and attend to each other, then we heal each other's internal self-regulatory systems. We bring about homeostasis, which of course is healing.
In Athens last week, we were doing a diner workshop, and I just thought something else I need. Yeah. And in Greece, where we do our workshops, they have what they call the Sound of Greece every Monday, and it's a huge meditation. So we were involved in this, and as I was said, Anna came through, and she said, I want you to do a blessing with the symbol, this being the symbol. This was given to me on a trip to Manchester. Fortunately, Jack was driving, and she came through, and I wrote this scribbly thing on a piece of paper, which I didn't know what it was at the time, but told it was an ancient healing symbol that probably came from the Essenes. So, long story, but again, going back to Mark Foster, Mark did some work on it, and he said we could do with it as a pendant, and hence it became a pendant. But Dana said that she wanted me to give the Greek people what we call the Diana blessing, which is the symbol. So I said, okay, we'll do that. So that's what I did, and people had some nice experiences. So what we thought tonight, because I haven't got time to do it individually, unfortunately, that I would send the blessing out to each and every one of you. The ones that want to accept it will accept it, and the ones that don't need to worry. It won't be a problem for you. So if you just again go into the silence. This will be done silently.
Do you not want the music playing at all?
Yeah.
Do. And John will be turning down a bit once I've started. So we can get it.
May it be that it shines down.
And I will, in my mind, go round to each and every one of you and do the Diana blessing. I'm sorry I can't do it to each of you because we haven't got the time. Okay.
Where's Mark? There he is. We were talking before about coincidences. Of course there are none. The word ought to be deleted from the dictionary. I don't know if any of you recognise that music. It's from the Enya, of course, from the Fellowship of the Ring and Lord of the Rings. And there's Tolkien in that small picture. Because if we were to list all the so-called coincidences, and again it's Malvern Hills in the background, you wouldn't believe it, and there wouldn't be enough time. But he's a very interesting man. Who knows about Tolkien's politics? Well, my political opinions lean more and more to anarchy. The most improper job of any man, even saints, is bossing other men. Not one in a million is fit for it, and least of all those who seek the opportunity. So we get another circle closed. Now I'll do some of this and Anne can give you her bit of it. Maybe you can understand why she was reluctant to show that image on the right. There is a slight resemblance.
Yeah.
And bearing in mind we visit Greece at least 4 times a year. The goddess Diana and the goddess Artemis were the same people. But you would ask yourself, did they ever exist? Did the mythological Greek gods ever exist? Well, to the Romans she was known as Diana, and to the Greeks Artemis. And that illustration on the right was taken from a book at the Museum at Delphi, which at one time was the most spiritual place on the planet. And I actually asked Diana that who was Artemis? And, the person who Diana replied was Artemis is sitting on my right. You may not accept that. But another rather interesting coincidence, we went to Thassos in northern Greece about a month ago. There's a town there where the ferry sails from called Kavala. And in the square of Kavala there's a tribute to Alexander the Great, who's one of the greatest warriors who ever lived. And on the side of it I read this thing out and sent a shiver down my spine. I didn't understand the connection, but I felt something. By the way, I never see Diana, I never hear Diana, I just get a sense of it, or a sense of her presence. Anyway, we did another channeling when we returned, and apparently, according to Diana, Artemis worked with Alexander the Great. And there's a temple at Ephesus, which is now in Turkey, burnt down the very night, it burnt down the night Alexander the Great was born. So I think you can do the bit about the Essenes now.
Yeah, but even so, last week when we were in Athens, we had a lady on our course who apparently is quite a famous astrologer and is on TV and radio in Athens. And she wanted to speak to me after the course. And she did my chart for me. And I don't understand charts. She's going to speak to me on Saturday on Skype. 3 of the things in the chart match with Diana. But what she also said was that I had also been with Alexander the Great, which nearly knocked me off my chair, because this had only come up 2 weeks earlier. So all the time of being given information which sometimes doesn't make sense, and then it sort of comes together. So we'll see where that takes us when I speak with her. But with the Essenes, well, I've been attracted to the Essenes for many, many years, and we even called one of our houses the Essenes. I just wanted to call it the Essenes. And I'd followed them, and I knew that I'd been an Essene because I don't like cities. I love being near the water. I'm vegetarian. There was a lot of things. But then when Diana came through and she said that we'd been together in an earlier life of Essenes, and that the people that would come to our courses and our talks, we would have also most likely have been together, either as an Essene in other lifetimes or Atlantis. And proof of that's been given with certain people like Joanna Prentice. But the Essenes were a beautiful community, and they lived for thousands of years. They were healers, they were called the therapeutics. They also helped to stop the Bible being changed. They didn't wholly succeed, obviously, because the high priest got the Bibles and the Bible has been changed. But they sacrificed a lot, and a lot of them lost their lives by trying to protect the written word of the Bible. They had one of the best agricultural systems known to man. They would pray morning, noon and evening to God, and they lived a very loving, passive, caring life for both humans and all living things. And Jesus was an Essene, and that's in many, many books. And so was John the Baptist and Jesus' family. And so, if you feel you like to be near water, if you feel that you have compassion for others, then I can assure you then you're certainly on the right path being here, because you will have been all together at some point in an earlier life as an Essene. And the Essenes agreed to come back, and I've had this again said to me by Joanna Prentice, that the Essenes made a vow to come back to help humanity now. The Essenes were slaughtered by the Romans because they were seen as a threat, and obviously with the implication of Jesus as well. But the Essenes live on in us, most of us, and probably most of us here tonight, that we have been in an earlier past life where they were totally heart-centered. And because the way it's gone, the high priest wanted to change. They wanted to change the Bible so that they had power over human beings, and that's happened. And you can see how the patterns emerged. So changing everything, getting us fearful of religion, hung upon money, hung upon scarcity, and it's all lies. And as Ike said, we have to go inside. What we have inside we mirror out. And when I saw that, then I knew what Diana, when she said to me during that channeling, that her and David Icke were alike. I understood that because that goes right into your heart, and what we give out, we get back. So the more we can be more compassionate, be more caring, and give that out, all the vibrations, just by one person, it will take the vibrations up. And as Diana said, if you could see what happens when a group of people like here tonight have that one loving thought for another, or for each other one in the room, then the vibration of the planet just soars. And she said, we can change this. This can be changed in a twinkling of an eye. And I was talking to Sue over there, and there was a gentleman who came up and said that, didn't he? So I don't know where the gentleman is, he may have gone. And he said, this can change in a twinkling of an eye. And I said, that's exactly what Diana said. But we've all got to be there and care. And it's not soft having love, you know. It is a manly thing to have unconditional love for everything. Like, you know, you would love an animal or anything that just you can hold in your heart, but you don't want anything from it. You love it because it is. It just is. And so if you can do that, it will change your life. As Deepak said there, when you give love out, you're changing your whole cells within your body. And there's trillions of cells, and one cell, they talk to each other, so they have an intelligence. So the Diana message is basically, it isn't complicated. It's just getting into the habit of being into the heart, and just caring for the poor soul on the street. That one time you may have just walked on the other side because you didn't want to pass that guy because he looked scruffy. Just send him love, just send him a blessing. It will make him tons better, and it will make you feel better too, and the world. Okay.
Yep. Just a quick thing on Harry Edwards. I don't know if any of you heard Harry Edwards. He was regarded as the greatest healer since Christ. He died in 76. When Anne discovered the fact she could heal spiritually in, when was it, the early 80s?
Yeah.
Harry Edwards is Anne's spirit guide. And I've read his books, and I find him a fascinating character because he said the reason he heals, he's got 3 reasons for being a healer, and they're in priority order, and there they are on the screen. To convince people that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, that healing is God's gift to humanity, and the 3rd reason, to heal people. And that really resonates very powerfully with me. Because if we want to change the world, that's the way to do it. We can't do the meditation, we haven't time, but there's a quote.
What time are we going to finish?
Well, you've still got to do the questions, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Anne's already mentioned this, so...
Can you all see it?
Want me to read it out? This is by Joanna Prentice, as Anne mentioned. She's written many books on the Essenes. My understanding is that Diana was an Essene and was the grandmother of Jeshua, or Jesus. Her name was Anna, and 2 of her children were Mother Mary and Joseph of Arimathea. That's the Diana healing symbol. Some of you have looked on the side there, you'll see that's ended up on pendants and various other things. It works. If you doubt it, there's testimonials all over our site. I think we might even show you a couple of testimonials if we have time. Some of you know Penny Pullen. She's a tireless truth activist who lives in the Lake District. Wonderful human being. I'll just read the top one out. The symbol is extremely powerful. Penny douses. It provides protection from harmful electromagnetic frequencies and psychic attack. The body seems to become balanced and is able to detox aluminium and other harmful substances, which we know is in chemtrails. The frequency the symbol generates will also disable nanomicrochips, which many people carry in their bodies without their knowledge. The body will be given the ability to repair the damage to DNA strands caused by these microchips. That was completely unsolicited. We didn't ask her to do it. There's more on that. This is more if we'd had time. Right, what's going to happen now? I don't know if the random number generator has done its job. We're going to get four people who are going to ask questions through Anne to Diana. Eric's a plant. A random plant. Right, the way to do this, and if you could do in that order, please.
Yes, just say the name.
If you just say the name, if you've not done this before, it's pretty strange, take it from me. You know, when I first started doing this stuff, to actually to talk to Diana and address her as Diana is weird. So, if you just say your name, and just ask Diana rather than Anne.
Yes.
But she'd obviously have to get to the right state first. And then we'll move on to the next person. Okay. So if you just give it a minute to get into the right frame of mind in this.
Hello, my name is Caroline. In which dimension are you now existing, Diana?
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
In which dimension are you now existing?
Right. I am in a dimension that is not within the dimensions that you are aware of. There are many dimensions in the world of spirit. And the dimension is the dimension of love. Conditional, unconditional. And where we are is a place of beauty. And eventually, some of you will come here. But also, if you unlock your own potential of love, then you can be partly within this dimension. Because heaven, or what you call as heaven, and other dimensions are within you. As they say, the kingdom of God is within. And if you look within your own heart, you can be within that kingdom of love.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Caroline.
you.
Great question.
My name's Alan.
Hello.
I'd like to know, did Atlantis really exist?
Could you just repeat that? I only got the Atlantis bit, so...
Did Atlantis actually exist?
Yes, indeed it did. Very much so. And in fact, some of you will have been there in previous lives. Atlantis did exist. And Atlantis was way, way beyond any of your imaginations. Atlantis holds vital information. And it was because of this, and because the fear of it getting into the wrong hands, that Atlantis went into the ocean. Having said that, the time has come now, and the information is coming forward to you. So do not be surprised when you hear, or when you even acknowledge in your own mind, or feel you have a thought, or feel that you are connected with Atlantis. Please don't think it's in your imagination, because the thoughts that have been locked away, the information that was there, is now coming up to be used in this time. And the information that was in Atlantis far exceeds what you have here now. on the earth plane.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. I think it's on this side, John.
Hello, Diana. My name's Paul.
Hello, Paul.
Hello. What or who were the forces responsible for your death? And if you had to die in order to open hearts, have these forces done us all a favour?
What forces? Well, without actually naming names, human forces. And having said that, it was my time, it was my end, it was my contract. Because the way I died had to be, because as you've heard it said, hearts could not be opened in any other way than through my death. And that was the beginning, part of the beginning of what started to happen on the earth plane. That hearts opened up, hearts that could not be opened in any other way. And so that was the start, for my point, of opening up hearts where love could come in. And once those hearts were opened, it was left to people like yourselves to work and to open them up. As I have said before, we here in spirit are with you. We are around you constantly. But we need you. We need you because we need to work through you. And so, as you put it, yes, maybe they did do you a favour. My life on the earth plane was so restricted and was becoming more restricted. There was no one that I could trust or talk to. And it was becoming more obvious to me that the work I wanted to do, I was unable to do and to carry out. As now that I've moved over to this higher dimension, I can do more here to help humanity than when I was in my body. I understand all the pain because I had so much myself. And maybe I was misunderstood. And yes, maybe I was mixed up. All those things. Because I was human. And so, it was my time. And God works in mysterious ways. He brings people here, over to spirit. Sometimes it seems unfair, sometimes they're too young. But we have learnt our lessons, and we come back to help humanity. And you, all you, have to help. You're the generation in generations upon generations that can help the next generation to break free from this slavery. Because you're all slaves. You're all kept in slavery. And this is the first time in thousands and thousands of years where you had the chance to break free, to look inside yourself, to become you, and to help the children of this world that are so programmed. You here have it in your power. And we will not win anything with wars and with angry words. We will win it by caring for each other and sharing with each other all that you have. How little that is, it doesn't matter. If given from the heart, given with love, it doesn't matter. A smile. Holding someone's hand when they're lonely. That is priceless. So I will leave it with you to do that, because you are here and you have come here tonight for a reason. So I will trust you all to carry out the work that you have come to earth to do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello Diana, my name is Eric.
Hello, Eric.
I have 2 questions for you. First question, when you was alive in the physical world, you lived with the royal family. The royal family are believed to be reptilians. Did you see any full evidence of this? And second question, do you have many people like Anne Stewart that you work with and channel with to get your message across for love and light, to spread this message?
Let me answer the first one. When I had my time on earth with the royal family, I did see many things. A lot of that time, although I did not realise it, I was under mind control. A lot of the time, I realised I was more like a zombie. So at the time, many times, my mind was confused. But I know some of the things that I saw and felt, but could not make sense of it. A lot of my time was very lonely. And so, of course, that was played on. And I was criticised and laughed at. But then, you know, you reach the lowest of the lowest as I did. And you have an inner strength that takes you forward. And that became the turning point in my life. And I knew I had to break free. Free of the energies that were holding me. And I knew that by caring for others and going out into the world and showing how much I cared, in return, I would get the love that I craved for. So, if you could repeat the second question. Please, Eric.
The second question was, you work now in spirit with people on earth like Anne Stewart, who channel with you. Do you channel with a lot of people on earth to spread this message?
Thank you. I do channel with other people, but at the moment I am mainly with Anne. But I would also say to you that if you are in need, if you feel lost or lonely, then you can call on me to come to you. It isn't me, it is my energy. And I offer this as comfort to people. But then you can call on other people's energy. But I offer it because people know me and they know Anne. And so it's easier sometimes to either bring myself or Anne to mind in the picture, because humans make sense mainly through the pictures and through sound. So the answer to your question is, I can be with many people at one time.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, I would like to thank you all for this evening. So wonderful to be with people of the same and similar vibration. And to know that you are the waking ones. And your job is to gently wake up the people around you. And we can go forward and shine the light into the darkest. And remember, the dark energies cannot live in the light. So the more you shine your light, the more you spread out your love and your compassion, then the negative energies will start to disappear. It isn't complicated. God never makes anything complicated. Humans do. But it is a matter of a little self-discipline to remind yourselves daily as the negative thoughts come swimming in, to stop them. And to turn your thoughts to thoughts of kindness and thoughts of beauty. And think how beautiful this planet is. Think what you've been given. The animal life, the sea life, the plants, the flowers. It goes on endless and endless. Everything comes to sustain you from Mother Earth. And where does that come from? That comes from the Creator, God, or whatever you would like to call. I would ask you each day just to give gratitude for what you have, for how little it might seem. Because as you give your thoughts out of gratitude and thanks, the universe knows then what you want. And that will be fed back to you. So I want you to raise your face to the sun. Know that standing together and being together in meetings like this, or even when you're alone, just putting a kind thought out, that's how we'll change. That's how we'll change people's lives and we'll change this planet. Because we are the generation that has to do it. And you have the power. You are powerful beyond anything you may dream of. So trust in yourself. Trust in the universe. Trust in God. And know that we're well on our way to having a beautiful life. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the people who asked the question. You may have realised, and it's no disrespect to the questions because they were great questions, certain things that are specific, if they became public, would not do Anne a service and not really do what the message is to say.
I don't want to end up on that list of 6. I don't want to make it 7. Where they decide, you know. So some things we do have to be careful of. And that was Diana's promise. She promised me that she wouldn't put me in any danger and that she should keep me safe. So there's things that we've taken so far. But I can assure you that things are changing very, very fast. Very, very fast. Even though we're so impatient. If it happened all at once, we would be in one hell of a mess. So we have to trust that the universal intelligence will take us to the place we need to be when we need to be there.
Saying everything by saying nothing. That's the one. Right, these are just some of the things that came out from the book, and we'd recommend them to you. Strange though it may seem, it's not a ritual out of the Waltons, but bless your food. Everybody knows that food's contaminated with God knows how many chemicals, it's full of GMOs and everything else. Well, just bless it, see what difference it makes. Bless other people and bless the planet. Anne's already mentioned the thing about gratitude. Get into a daily discipline of prayer, meditation and changing your thoughts. Get out in nature as often as you can. Care for animals, self-evidently. Drop into your heart. There's a plug for the other things that we do, clearing cellular memory, but there are other healing modalities that do it just as well as the healing code. And some gentle exercise. And that's the cover of the book that should be due out at the end of the year, early next year. Anne's channelings are roughly twice a month and they're on YouTube. Cover a range of topics. If you're interested in coming to a workshop, we've got one in the beautiful place that we now live, Great Malvern. There's the detail, it's on the website as well. And this is the part of Mark's introduction to the book. I'll read it out. The gift of true love is without doubt a timely antidote for our troubled times, a route map to guide us back into our divine path. Unlike some spiritual books, it does not seek to avoid, duck or sidestep the dark side of events on the planet currently, instead choosing to bring awareness and loving light to those situations. And by sharing with us powerful, practical, energetic tools, guides us to heal and transform ourselves and the world. I think that writing's big enough. I've got the privilege of saying this. I mentioned the Diana prayer before, so I'm just going to close with this. And forgive me, there's always a point that my emotions kick in. I'll see if I can get around that one. So, I come to you with love and only love, which is what we are. It is all that there is and ever will be. Embrace that thought and embrace it now. It is all that you will ever need to know. Trust. Trust in us as we trust in you. We are with you always, one and the same. You are never alone, and in your sorrow we will sit with you. The path is golden and straight. Simply carry yourself forward and when you are tired, we will carry you. Till we meet again, my friend, till we meet again. Shalom. Thank you.
Thank you. And that was actually channeled for me on the Tony Stockwell and Mavis Patilla workshop, and that was given to me about 4 years ago. And not realising that was then the first connection that Diana made to me. That was too thick. Even after the few months of working with Diana, it was only when she kept coming through and saying, I come to you with love, and then one day the penny dropped. I thought, I've heard that, and I got this written, what we call a prayer, out of my handbag where it had been for then about 2.5 years. And I knew then that had been her first connection to me, but I hadn't realised it. So, just be aware of the Spirit are always with you and giving us very subtle messages, but just try and be aware of them. They're there to help you. Thank you.